The first time I realized something was wrong, I was standing in my own kitchen, holding a wooden spoon, and my front door wouldn't open. I remember the cold more than anything else. That December cold that creeps into your bones even when you've lived through 60 winters and think you know it by heart. The kind of cold that makes your fingers stiff and your breath come out in short, white clouds. I stood there on my porch, key in hand, turning it once, twice, and feeling that hollow click that tells you the lock has been changed. Before I continue, I would like to welcome you to my channel Voice of Mrs. Addison. We bring you captivating stories every day. Subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with our stories. Tell me your opinion about this story in the comment section. Also tell me where you are watching from. Let's continue the story. For a moment, I thought I had made a mistake. I checked the house number like a stranger. Same faded blue paint. Same crack in the concrete step I'd tripped over for years. Same wreath I hung myself the week before, pine cones tied with red ribbon. My house. My key. My door. And yet I was locked out. But to understand how I got there, standing on my own porch on Christmas week, feeling smaller than I had ever felt, you have to understand what Christmas meant in that house. You have to understand what I gave year after year, long before my son ever brought a wife home. For 20 years, Christmas lived in my kitchen. It lived in the smell of collard greens simmering low and slow, smoked turkey wings sinking into the pot until the meat fell apart. It lived in my sweet potato pies cooling on the counter, their tops cracked just right, the way my mama taught me. It lived in the sound of gospel humming from the radio, Mahalia Jackson low in the background, while I wiped flour from my hands and checked the oven one more time. Christmas wasn't a date on the calendar to me. It was muscle memory. It was my body moving through rituals I could do with my eyes closed. I raised my son, Marcus, in that house. Just me and him after his daddy passed when Marcus was 12. I worked days at the post office and nights cleaning offices downtown when money got tight. But Christmas? Christmas was sacred. No matter how tired I was, no matter how thin my patience ran, I showed up for that day. Marcus grew up knowing that when he walked through that front door on Christmas morning, the house would smell like love and effort. He knew the table would be full, even if my wallet wasn't. He knew there would be laughter, cousins piled on the couch, uncles arguing over spades, and me standing at the stove telling everyone to wash their hands before touching anything. Those traditions weren't fancy. They weren't Pinterest-worthy. But they were ours. When Marcus met Vanessa, I tried to make room for her the same way I made room for everyone else, by feeding her, by listening, by giving her the benefit of the doubt even when something about her felt sharp around the edges. Vanessa was polished. That's the word people like to use. She had straightened hair that never moved out of place, nails always done, outfits that looked like they belonged in a magazine instead of a living room with plastic on the furniture. She talked about aesthetic and vibes and things being on brand. Words I smiled at but didn't quite understand. At first, she was respectful enough. She called me Ms. Loretta instead of Mama, which stung a little, but I told myself times had changed. She complimented my food but never took seconds. She took pictures of the table before anyone ate, asking us to wait while she adjusted the lighting. Still, I told myself love stretches. Love adapts. When Marcus proposed, he did it right there in my living room, down on one knee, hands shaking. I cried so hard my glasses fogged up. Vanessa hugged me, stiff at first, then quick, like she was checking something off a list. After the wedding, things shifted in small ways. Quiet ways. The kind of ways you can explain away if you don't want trouble. Vanessa started hosting Thanksgiving at her apartment, just this once. Christmas brunch instead of dinner. Store-bought desserts because she was trying something lighter. She rearranged my dining room chairs without asking, said the flow felt better. She talked about starting new traditions with Marcus, smiling like she was being generous. I nodded. I smiled. I swallowed the ache that settled in my chest like a stone. The first real crack came the year she told me, gently but firmly, that maybe I should take a break from cooking. You've done so much over the years, she said, hand on Marcus's arm. You deserve to rest. Rest. As if I were tired of feeding my family. as if the kitchen wasn't the one place I still felt fully myself. Marcus avoided my eyes when she said it. That hurt more than her words. I remember standing at the sink that night, washing dishes that didn't need washing, listening to the water run just so I wouldn't have to hear my own thoughts. I told myself not to be dramatic. I told myself this was what letting go looked like. But something in Vanessa's smile that night stayed with me. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't loud. It was controlled. And control, I would learn, doesn't announce itself. It slips in quietly, rearranging your life one locked door at a time. I just didn't know yet that Christmas, the very thing I had poured myself into for 2 decades, was about to be used as the weapon that would push me out of my own home. The funny thing about being pushed aside is that it rarely happens all at once. It's a series of gentle nudges, polite suggestions, and well-meaning excuses that add up to you standing somewhere unfamiliar, wondering how you got there. After that conversation about me resting, Christmas didn't disappear from my hands overnight. It loosened its grip slowly. One year, Vanessa asked if we could start dinner an hour later because her friends wanted to stop by first. Another year, she suggested we try catering just to reduce stress. She said it like stress was something I carried around voluntarily, like a purse I could set down if I wanted. Marcus kept nodding along. That's what hurt most. Not that he agreed with her. He barely spoke at all, but that he let her words land without interruption. My son, who used to stand between me and the world when I was tired or overwhelmed, now stood beside his wife and let me adjust. By the time their first Christmas as a married couple rolled around, I already felt like a guest in my own traditions. They had moved into my house a few months earlier. It made sense financially, they said. Vanessa wanted to save for something bigger and more modern. I told them they were welcome. I meant it. That house had been built on sharing. At first, it felt crowded but warm. Vanessa reorganized the pantry, labeled containers, replaced my mismatched mugs with a matching set she bought on sale. I noticed how my things slowly disappeared into boxes in the garage. I told myself it was temporary. Christmas decorations came out the week after Thanksgiving, like always. I pulled down the old cardboard boxes from the closet, the ones that smelled faintly of dust and pine oil. Inside were ornaments older than my son, chipped at the edges, each one holding a memory. A little wooden angel Marcus, made in 2nd grade. A cracked red bulb from the year the tree fell over, and we laughed until we cried. Vanessa watched me unpack them with a tight smile. I was thinking, she said carefully, maybe this year we could go for a more minimalist look. I paused with the angel in my hand. Minimalist? I repeated.
Just cleaner, she said.
More modern. Less clutter.
Clutter.
That word landed hard. She showed me pictures on her phone, trees with white lights only, ornaments spaced just so, no tinsel, no color. Beautiful, I suppose.
Cold too.
Marcus stood behind her, hands in his pockets. I can keep some of these, I said quietly. Just a few. Vanessa hesitated, then nodded. Of course. We'll compromise. But compromise, I learned, meant my things stayed in the box more often than not. As December crept closer, the house felt different. Quieter. Vanessa worked from home and took calls in the living room, her voice light and cheerful in a way it never was with me. She ordered groceries online instead of asking what I needed. She talked about hosting Christmas dinner for her friends, people I'd never met, using words like exclusive and intimate. I started spending more time in my room, not because anyone told me to, but because it felt easier.
Safer.
One evening, about a week before Christmas, Vanessa knocked on my door. Do you have a minute? She asked. Her tone was sweet, almost rehearsed. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one Marcus used to do homework at, the surface worn smooth from years of elbows and spilled juice. Vanessa folded her hands. So, for Christmas, she began, Marcus and I were thinking it might be better if you stayed with your sister this year. I blinked. Stayed with my sister? Just for a few days, she added quickly. I'm hosting, and I really want to do it my way. New traditions. New energy. My chest tightened. This is my house, I said softly, more to myself than to her. Marcus shifted in his chair. Mama, It's just temporary.
Temporary.
That word again. Vanessa leaned forward. I think it would mean a lot to Marcus and me to start our marriage off with our own Christmas. You've had so many already. So many. As if they were items I could count and put away. I looked at my son. Really looked at him. His eyes slid away. I wanted him to say no. I wanted him to say, Mama stays. But he didn't. That night I packed a small bag. Just enough for a few days. I told myself I was being gracious. That this was what love looked like now, making yourself smaller so others could feel bigger. I left the house the next morning, the smell of Vanessa's new cinnamon candles hanging heavy in the air. She hugged me at the door, quick and light. Thank you for understanding, she said. I smiled, because that's what I've always done. My sister Gloria lived across town. She welcomed me without questions, but I could tell she was confused. I slept on her couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic. It felt wrong being away from my own home, so close to Christmas. On Christmas Eve, I called Marcus. Everything okay? I asked.
Yeah, he said.
Just busy. I could hear music in the background. Laughter. Vanessa's laugh, sharp and bright. Tell me when you're coming to pick me up tomorrow, I said. There was a pause. Pick you up, he repeated. Yes, I said. For Christmas dinner. Another pause. Longer this time. Mama, we thought you might just stay there. Vanessa's family is coming.
It's going to be a lot.
A lot. Like I was extra furniture. I swallowed. So, I'm not welcome in my own house on Christmas Day? It's not like that, he said quickly. We'll do something later. I promise. I hung up before he could say anything else. That night, I didn't sleep. My chest felt hollow, like something had been scooped out and left empty. I stared at my phone, waiting for a message that never came. And somewhere, deep in my gut, a quiet voice whispered that this wasn't just about Christmas. Something else was being hidden from me. Something I wasn't supposed to see. Christmas morning arrived without me. I woke up on my sister Gloria's couch to the sound of her coffee maker sputtering and hissing in the kitchen. The smell drifted toward me. Cheap grounds, brewed too strong. And for a split second, I forgot where I was. My body expected the weight of my own mattress, the creak of the floorboards outside my bedroom, the familiar rhythm of Christmas morning in my house. Then it all came rushing back. I sat up slowly, my joints stiff, my throat tight. Outside, the sky was that pale winter gray that never quite decides if it wants to brighten. Gloria peeked around the corner, holding 2 mugs. Merry Christmas, sis, she said softly. I forced a smile and took the mug. The heat burned my palms, grounding me. We didn't do much that morning. Gloria turned on the television low. Some old Christmas movie played in the background, snow and laughter, and endings that always worked out. I watched without really seeing it, my mind stuck on my house, on who was there, what music was playing, what food was being cooked without me. Around 10, my phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. Hope you're having a peaceful morning. We're so excited to host today. Thank you again for giving us the space to start our own traditions. I stared at the screen. The word space sat there like an insult wrapped in a bow.
I didn't respond.
By noon, I couldn't sit still anymore. Something inside me was restless, uneasy. Call it intuition, call it stubborn pride, call it a lifetime of knowing when something wasn't right. I told Gloria I needed some air. I think I'm going to drive by the house, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Just to see the decorations. Gloria raised an eyebrow. Loretta, I won't go in. I lied. The drive felt longer than usual. Every familiar street twisted my stomach tighter. When I turned onto my block, my heart sank. Cars lined the street. Fancy ones. Shiny SUVs and sedans I didn't recognize. Music pulsed through the walls of my house. Loud, upbeat. Nothing like the old gospel or soft jazz I used to play. I parked a little ways down, my hands shaking as I stepped out. The cold slapped my face, sharp and unforgiving. I stood there, watching people I didn't know walk up my front steps. Laughing, carrying gifts, wearing smiles that assumed they belonged there. I felt invisible. I don't know what made me walk up to the door. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was anger finally outweighing hurt. Maybe it was the simple truth that it was my home, and I was tired of pretending otherwise. I rang the doorbell. Music stopped abruptly. Footsteps approached. The door opened, and there she was, Vanessa, dressed in a sleek white sweater dress, hair perfect, makeup flawless. Her smile froze. "Loretta," she said, her voice tight. "What are you doing here?" I looked past her into the living room. Furniture rearranged. Decorations replaced. My old ornaments nowhere in sight. Strangers turned to stare. "I came home," I said quietly. Vanessa stepped outside, pulling the door closed behind her. "We talked about this," she whispered sharply. "This isn't the time." "I live here," I replied. My voice didn't shake. That surprised me. Her jaw tightened. "Marcus agreed you'd stay away today." "Then Marcus can come tell me himself." She hesitated. "Too long." That's when the front door opened again. "Loretta?" A man stood there, tall, gray at the temples, wearing a coat that looked expensive but familiar in a way I couldn't place. It took me a second to recognize him. Then my stomach dropped. "Henry?" I breathed. "Henry Williams. My cousin's husband. A man I had known for over 30 years. A man who had helped me fix the roof after a storm. A man who knew every inch of this house." "What are you doing here?" I asked. He looked confused. It took me a second to recognize him. Then my stomach dropped. "Henry?" I breathed. "Henry Williams. My cousin's husband. A man I had known for over 30 years. A man who had helped me fix the roof after a storm. A man who knew every inch of this house." "What are you doing here?" I asked. He looked confused. "Vanessa invited me. Said this was her and Marcus's place now." "Her place." I turned slowly to Vanessa. "Is that what you told people?" I asked. She crossed her arms. I didn't think details mattered. Henry frowned. "Vanessa told us you moved out. Said you were living with family now. That you wanted privacy." The lies hit me one by one, each heavier than the last. I pushed past Vanessa and stepped inside. The room fell silent. Marcus stood near the kitchen, a drink in his hand, eyes wide. "Mama," he started. I held up a hand. "Is it true?" I asked him. "Did you tell people I moved out?" He opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Vanessa. That was all the answer I needed. I walked into the kitchen. My kitchen, or what used to be. The smell was wrong. Everything catered. Aluminum trays. No collard greens. No sweet potatoes. No love. 20 years, I said softly, turning to face them both. I cooked Christmas dinner in this house for 20 years. Guests shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa scoffed. "You're making a scene?" "No," I said. "You did." Henry stepped forward. "Marcus' son, is this true? Did you let her lock your mama out?" Marcus's face crumpled. "I didn't think." "Exactly," I said. "You didn't think." Vanessa's voice rose. This was supposed to be a fresh start. She's stuck in the past. She refuses to let us live our lives. I looked at her, really looked at her. I saw fear beneath the polish. Control masquerading as confidence. "You didn't want a fresh start," I said calmly. "You wanted me gone." Silence settled heavy and thick. Some guests began to murmur. Phones came out. Eyes darted. This wasn't just private anymore. And Vanessa knew it. That's when the doorbell rang again. And this time, the truth walked in with it. The doorbell cut through the tension like a knife. Every head in the room turned at once. Vanessa stiffened beside me, her back straight, her face carefully blank. Marcus looked relieved for a second, as if the interruption might save him from saying what he still hadn't found the courage to say. I didn't move. I didn't need to. Henry walked to the door and opened it. "Gloria," he said, surprised. My sister stepped inside, her coat still on, purse clutched tight against her side. She looked around the room, at the strangers, the catered food, the unfamiliar decorations, and then her eyes found me. "Loretta," she said gently. "I didn't plan to come," she told the room, her voice steady, but edged with steel. But when my sister didn't answer her phone, I got worried. Vanessa forced a smile. This really isn't a good time. Gloria ignored her completely. Marcus, she said, turning to my son. Do you know what your wife told your mother? Marcus swallowed. Auntie Gloria. She told Loretta she couldn't be in her own home on Christmas, Gloria continued. She told her to stay away, like a guest who overstayed her welcome. Murmurs rippled through the room. Vanessa's voice sharpened. I told her we needed space. Any couple would. Space is one thing, Gloria said. Lies are another. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. I didn't come empty-handed, she said. My stomach twisted. Gloria turned the screen toward Marcus first. I want you to read the messages your wife sent me last week. Marcus took the phone, his brow furrowing as he scrolled. What messages? Vanessa snapped, stepping closer. Gloria didn't stop. You told me Loretta moved out, Gloria said. That she handed over the house to you and Marcus. That she was happier living with me. That's not what I meant, Vanessa said quickly. Henry stepped forward again. You told us the same thing. More guests nodded. A woman near the couch whispered. She told me too. Marcus's face drained of color. I never moved out, I said quietly. I was told to leave. Vanessa laughed, sharp and brittle. You're twisting this. Gloria raised her voice for the first time. Then explain the locks. Silence. What locks? Marcus asked slowly. I met his eyes. The front door. My key doesn't work. Marcus turned to Vanessa. Did you change the locks? She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. I wanted to feel secure, she said. This is our marriage. Our home. Our home. Marcus repeated. Yes, she said, her voice rising. You said you wanted to start fresh. You said your mother was controlling. The room went still. Marcus stared at her. I never said that. She waved her hand dismissively. You didn't have to. I could tell. That's when something shifted in my son. I saw it in his shoulders, the way they sagged under the weight of the moment. He looked around the room, at the guests, at Henry, at Gloria, at me, at the truth. You told people my mama moved out, he said slowly. You changed the locks without telling me? She crossed her arms. You always take her side. I didn't know there were sides, he said. Vanessa's eyes flashed. Because you never defend me. The argument spilled out then, no longer contained. I defended you when you didn't want my mother cooking, Marcus said. I defended you when you rearranged her house. I defended you when you told her to leave for Christmas. My breath caught. You told her? I whispered. He nodded, shame written all over his face. She said it would be better coming from me. Gasps rippled through the room. Vanessa's voice dropped. I was trying to protect our future. By lying? Henry asked. By controlling? Gloria added. Vanessa looked around, realizing the room was no longer on her side. Her voice wavered for the first time. She wouldn't let go, she said, gesturing toward me. She's always here. Always in the way. I stepped forward. I raised my son in this house, I said. I welcomed you into it. I fed you. I stepped back when you asked. I left when you told me to. What more did you want from me? She didn't answer. Marcus set his drink down, his hands trembling. I didn't marry you so I could erase my mother, he said. I married you because I thought you wanted a family. Vanessa scoffed, but her eyes were wet. I wanted a modern one. A modern family doesn't lock elders out of their own homes, Gloria said. One by one, guests began to gather their things. Quietly, awkwardly. This doesn't feel right, someone murmured.
Henry shook his head.
Loretta, I'm sorry. I nodded, too tired to speak. Soon, the house was nearly empty. Christmas music played faintly from a speaker, cheerful and out of place. Vanessa stood alone in the living room, arms wrapped around herself. Marcus turned to me. Mama, he said, his voice breaking. I didn't see it. I should have stopped it. I looked at him, the boy I raised, the man he was still becoming. Seeing comes late sometimes, I said. But it has to come. He nodded. I want you to come home. I am home. I replied, looking around. The question is, who else is? Vanessa opened her mouth to speak, then closed it. Outside, the snow began to fall lightly, dusting the street in white. Christmas had arrived. But it didn't feel like peace yet. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent, cutting through the thick silence like a knife. Every head in the room turned. Vanessa looked annoyed, like an interruption had ruined her carefully staged moment. Marcus looked relieved, like maybe, just maybe. I didn't move. I had already said what I needed to say. Vanessa went to the door. When she opened it, her posture stiffened. Standing on my porch was Reverend Thomas Green, my pastor of 15 years, coat buttoned tight, Bible tucked under his arm, his eyes kind but alert. Beside him stood Mrs. Coleman, our longtime neighbor, wrapped in a thick wool scarf, holding a foil-covered dish in her hands. Well, Reverend Green said slowly, looking past Vanessa into the room full of strangers, this is a lively. Vanessa's mouth opened and closed. Reverend Green, this isn't a good time. He smiled politely. Marcus called me last night. Said his mother wasn't feeling well and might be alone today. Asked if I could stop by and check on her. Marcus's head snapped up. I turned to him. You called the pastor but didn't call your own mother? His shoulders slumped. Mrs. Coleman stepped inside, eyes scanning the room. Loretta, baby, she said, her voice thick with concern. I made your cornbread stuffing. Figured you'd be too tired to cook this year. I swallowed hard. Vanessa's face flushed. She's not cooking this year. Reverend Green's brow furrowed. Why not? Because she was busy erasing me, I thought. I was told, Reverend Green continued calmly, that Loretta had moved out. Every eye shifted to Vanessa. That's what she wanted, Vanessa said quickly. She needed space. I laughed then. Not loud, not bitter. Just one short, broken sound. Space, I repeated. From my own home. Mrs. Coleman set the dish down slowly. Loretta's lived here longer than anybody on this block. Reverend Green turned to Marcus. Son, is this true? Marcus rubbed his face with both hands. I just wanted peace, he said quietly. I thought if Mama stepped back. Peace for who? I asked. He didn't answer. The guests were restless now. Whispers floated through the room. A few coats were pulled on discreetly. This wasn't the curated Christmas experience they signed up for. Vanessa straightened her shoulders. I think everyone should leave, she said sharply. This has become inappropriate. Reverend Green didn't budge. What's inappropriate, he said gently, is locking a mother out of her home on Christmas Day. That did it. Vanessa's composure cracked. She manipulates him, she snapped, pointing at me. She uses guilt and tradition to control everything. I just wanted one holiday that wasn't about her. The room went silent again. I stepped forward, my voice low. Control? I said. If I wanted control, Vanessa, I would have told Marcus not to marry you the first time you rolled your eyes at my table.
Gasps.
Marcus looked up sharply. What? I met his gaze. I saw it. I just chose peace. Vanessa laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. No, Mrs. Coleman said firmly. What's ridiculous is lying to people about a woman we all know. Reverend Green nodded. Vanessa, did you change the locks? She hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Marcus's face drained of color. You changed the locks? I needed boundaries, she cried. She just walks in. It's her house, Marcus said hoarsely. The words hung there, fragile but real.
Something shifted then.
Not dramatically. Not all at once. But I felt it, the weight of 20 years finally being seen. I'm tired, I said softly. I'm going to my room, Vanessa scoffed. Your room? I turned back to her.
Yes.
The one down the hall. With my clothes. My bed. My name on the deed. Marcus stepped aside as I passed him. He didn't stop me. Behind me, voices rose. Guests leaving. Arguments starting. Truth spreading in the way it always does. Quiet at first, then unstoppable. I closed my bedroom door and sat on the edge of my bed. For the first time that day, I cried. Not loud, just tears slipping down, soaking into the collar of my sweater. Tears for the boy I raised. Tears for the woman I had tried to welcome. Tears for myself, for waiting so long to stand where I belonged. I stayed there until the house grew quiet again. When Marcus knocked on my door later, his voice sounded small. Mama? I wiped my face and opened it.
He couldn't look at me.
I didn't know how bad it got, he whispered. Yes, you did, I said gently. You just hoped it would fix itself. He nodded, tears falling freely now. I'm sorry, he said. I failed you. I reached out and touched his cheek. You failed yourself first, I said. But that doesn't mean it's over. Behind him, Vanessa stood in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes blazing. Not with anger anymore, but fear. Because control doesn't survive daylight. And Christmas, for all its pain, has a way of bringing things into the open. The doorbell rang again, sharp and insistent, cutting through the thick silence that had settled over the room. For a moment, no one moved. Vanessa's eyes flicked toward the door, then back to me. Something unreadable passed over her face. Not panic exactly, but calculation. Like she was already rearranging the story in her head, deciding which version she was about to tell. I'll get it, she said quickly. But Henry was already closer. I've got it, he said, his voice steady but firm. He opened the door. Standing there was a woman in a camel-colored coat, her hair wrapped neatly in a silk scarf, a pie box balanced carefully in her hands. She looked past Henry, into the living room, her brow furrowing as her eyes landed on me. Loretta, she said, surprised. I didn't know you'd be here. It was Denise, Vanessa's aunt. Her real aunt, the sister of the woman who raised Vanessa after her own mama struggled with addiction. Denise and I had known each other years back through church circles. Not close, but familiar. Familiar enough that she knew this house had always been mine. Vanessa stiffened. Aunt Denise, she said too brightly, stepping forward. You're early. Denise didn't take her eyes off me. Vanessa told me Loretta moved out months ago, she said slowly. Said she wanted a quieter life. Every head in the room turned. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. No, I said gently. I was told to leave, so this dinner could happen. Denise's mouth tightened. She looked at Vanessa, disappointment flickering across her face like a shadow. Is that true? Denise asked. Vanessa laughed, sharp and brittle. She's exaggerating. She agreed to stay with her sister. That's not what you told me, Denise said calmly. You said she didn't want to live here anymore. You said Marcus bought the house. Marcus flinched. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. Bought the house. I repeated. I turned to my son, my voice barely above a whisper. Marcus, what is she talking about? His face drained of color. Mama, he swallowed hard. I was going to tell you. Vanessa spun toward him. This is not the time. Then when? I asked quietly. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were leaning in to listen. Denise set the pie down slowly. Vanessa told the family Marcus put the house in his name, that it was a wedding gift. My ears rang. No, I said. That house is still in my name. Vanessa's lips pressed into a thin line. Marcus finally spoke, his voice cracking. Mama, Vanessa said it would be easier. For taxes. For our future. I stared at him. Did you sign anything? I asked. He shook his head quickly.
No. Just talked about it.
I exhaled shakily. One small mercy. Vanessa stepped forward, her voice rising. This is exactly what I mean. She wants control over everything. We're married now, Marcus. We need boundaries. Boundaries don't involve lies, Denise said sharply. Murmurs rippled through the room. People shifted, uncomfortable, some clearly embarrassed to be there at all. Henry shook his head slowly. Vanessa, this isn't right. She turned on him. You don't understand. Oh, I understand plenty, he said. I understand a woman trying to erase another woman to make herself feel secure. That hit. Vanessa's eyes flashed. You all think she's some saint? She suffocates Marcus. She won't let go. I laughed then. A short, hollow sound that surprised even me. Let go, I said. I let him go the day he walked across that graduation stage. Everything after that was love, not control. Marcus broke down then, right there in front of everyone. I messed up, he said, his shoulders slumping. I didn't want to argue. I thought keeping the peace meant going along. I walked over to him slowly. Keeping the peace at whose expense? I asked. He couldn't answer. Denise picked up her coat. I won't stay for this, she said. Vanessa, you owe your mother and this family an apology. Vanessa scoffed. So you're all choosing her? No, Denise said. We're choosing truth. One by one, guests began making excuses. Quiet goodbyes. Coats pulled on with awkward apologies. The music never came back on. Within minutes, the house was nearly empty. Just the four of us left. Me, Marcus, Vanessa, and the wreckage of a Christmas that had been built on lies. Vanessa's shoulders sagged. The polish cracked. I just wanted it to be ours, she said quietly. You don't get to steal something to make it yours, I replied. She looked at Marcus. Are you really going to take her side? Marcus wiped his face. It's not sides. It's right and wrong. That silence felt different. Final. Vanessa grabbed her coat and bag. I need air, she muttered, brushing past me without a word. The door slammed behind her. Marcus sank into a chair, his head in his hands. I'm sorry, Mama, he whispered. I placed a hand on his shoulder. It trembled beneath my fingers. I believe you, I said. But believing you doesn't erase what happened. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. And for the first time all day, I felt the weight of exhaustion settle into my bones. Christmas was broken. But something else, something long overdue, had finally been revealed. The room didn't erupt the way you might expect. There was no shouting match, no plates breaking, no dramatic collapse to the floor. What happened instead was quieter, and somehow heavier. People started leaving. One by one, guests picked up their coats, murmured awkward goodbyes, and avoided Vanessa's eyes. Some hugged me softly as they passed, whispering, I'm so sorry, like they were afraid saying it too loud would make it worse. Others just nodded, shame written across their faces for believing a story that had never been theirs to believe. Henry stayed. He leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching Marcus with a disappointment that cut deeper than anger ever could. Vanessa stood frozen in the center of the living room, her perfect Christmas unraveling in silence. Her hands trembled just slightly, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. I noticed. Marcus followed me into the kitchen when I turned away from her. Mama, he said quietly. Please. I rested my hands on the counter, feeling the cool granite under my palms. The house smelled like strangers now. Perfume, catered food, artificial pine. None of it felt like home. You let her lie about me, I said, not raising my voice. You let people believe I abandoned my own house. I didn't know how to stop it, he whispered. I turned then, looked at the man I raised. The boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. The teenager who swore he'd always take care of me. You stop it by telling the truth, I said. Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then. He nodded, tears sliding down his cheeks. I didn't rush to wipe them away. This wasn't the moment for rescue. This was the moment for responsibility. Vanessa entered the kitchen slowly, her voice brittle. So what now? Are you satisfied? You embarrass me in front of everyone. I met her gaze. No, I said. You embarrassed yourself. I simply refused to disappear. She laughed sharply, but there was panic underneath it. You're acting like I stole something from you. You did, I said. My place. My voice. My dignity. Silence stretched between us. Marcus took a breath. Vanessa, he said, steadier now. You need to apologize. Her head snapped toward him. For what? For lying. For locking my mama out of her own home. Her mouth opened. Closed. She looked around as if searching for support that was no longer there. I was trying to build a life, she said finally. I needed boundaries. You built walls, I replied. And you used me as the bricks. That was the moment something shifted. Marcus straightened his shoulders. Mama's staying, he said. Tonight. And every night she wants. This is her house. Vanessa stared at him like she didn't recognize him. You're choosing her over me? She asked. I'm choosing right over wrong, he said quietly. That night, Vanessa packed a bag. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She moved stiffly, pride holding her spine straight even as everything she'd tried to control slipped through her fingers. I sat alone at the kitchen table after she left, the house eerily quiet. Marcus hovered nearby, unsure if he was allowed to sit. You hungry? I asked. He nodded. I opened the fridge. It was mostly untouched. I found smoked turkey wings I had prepared weeks earlier and frozen, just in case. Sweet potatoes. Collard greens waiting to be loved. As the food warmed, the house slowly shifted.
The smell changed.
Familiar. Comforting. Marcus sat at the table like he used to, hands folded, eyes red. I'm sorry, he said again. I forgot who you were to me. I stirred the pot, the wooden spoon heavy and reassuring in my hand. Don't forget again, I said. Some losses don't give you second chances. In the weeks that followed, the house healed the way old bones do, slowly, stiffly, but stronger where it once broke. Vanessa didn't come back. Marcus tried counseling, tried humility, tried listening instead of hiding. Some days were better than others. Trust doesn't snap back into place just because someone finally tells the truth. But Christmas had passed, and something else had been restored. My place. I took my time reclaiming the house. I brought my ornaments back out, hung the wooden angel where it always belonged, played my gospel records on Sunday mornings without asking permission. And I learned something I wish I'd learned sooner. Love that requires your silence is not love. Tradition that must be erased to make someone comfortable was never the problem. And dignity, once reclaimed, changes the way you stand forever. I no longer wait to be invited into spaces I built. I sit where I belong. The room didn't explode into chaos the way movies make it seem when the truth finally shows up. Instead, it went very still.
Too still.
The kind of stillness where you can hear the refrigerator hum, the faint clink of a spoon against glass, the soft inhale of someone realizing they've been lied to. Standing in the doorway was Pastor Reynolds.
My pastor.
Marcus's pastor. The man who had dedicated this house 20 years earlier, praying over my living room while Marcus sat cross-legged on the floor beside me, his small hand tucked into mine. Loretta? Pastor Reynolds said gently. I thought you were hosting today. Vanessa's face drained of color so fast I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She stammered. There must be some confusion. Pastor Reynolds looked around the room at the unfamiliar faces, the catered food, the rearranged furniture. His eyes finally settled on me. Confusion about what? He asked calmly. You told me Loretta moved out. That she handed the house over to you and Marcus. I felt Marcus stiffen beside the counter. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Pastor Reynolds turned slowly to Marcus. Son, did your mother move out? Marcus opened his mouth. No sound came out. And in that moment, I watched something inside my child finally crack. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But enough for the truth to slip through. No, Marcus said quietly.
She didn't.
A few people gasped. Henry shook his head in disbelief. Vanessa stepped forward, voice sharp now. Why does this matter? This is between family. Pastor Reynolds' voice didn't rise. That made it worse. It matters, he said, because you built this Christmas on a lie. And you used someone's mother to do it. He looked at me again. Loretta, are you okay? That question, simple, sincere, nearly broke me. I nodded slowly. I am now. Guests began gathering their coats. No one wanted to stay inside a truth like that. Vanessa tried to salvage the moment, laughing too loudly, offering drinks that no one accepted. Marcus stood frozen. I walked over to him. Up close, he looked like the boy who used to cry when he disappointed me. I didn't raise you to be cruel, I said softly. But I did raise you to make things right.
His eyes filled.
I didn't know how to stop it. That's not the same as being powerless, I replied. Vanessa snapped. So, you're just going to turn against your wife now? I looked at her one last time. No, I said. He's going to stop turning against himself. I picked up my coat from the chair where she'd tossed it earlier, careless, like it didn't belong to anyone important. I want my house back, I said calmly. Today.
Silence.
Marcus swallowed. Okay. Vanessa stared at him. Marcus. No, he said. His voice shook, but it was firm. This ends now. She looked around, realizing something she hadn't planned for. Control only works when everyone stays quiet. By sunset, the house was empty. Vanessa packed a bag, her movements sharp and angry, accusing everyone but herself. She didn't apologize. I didn't expect her to. Marcus stood beside me as she left. When the door closed behind her, the house felt different. Lighter. Not healed. Not yet. But honest. That night, Marcus and I sat at the kitchen table. No decorations. No Christmas dinner. Just 2 plates of reheated food Gloria had sent home with me and the quiet clink of forks. I'm sorry, Mama, he said finally. I let her rewrite our story. I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Stories can be corrected, but it costs something. He nodded, tears falling freely now. I'll earn my way back, he said. I know, I replied. The weeks that followed weren't easy. Healing never is. Vanessa moved out for good. Marcus and I went to counseling, together, then separately. We learned new ways to speak, to listen, to set boundaries where silence used to live. Christmas didn't return the way it used to, and that was okay. The following year, I cooked again, but only for the people who asked, who showed up, who understood that tradition isn't about control. It's about care. Sometimes, losing your place at the table teaches you who truly deserves a seat. And sometimes, being locked out of your own home reminds you that your worth was never tied to how much you gave, but to who you are when you finally stop shrinking. I still hang that old wooden angel on the tree. Every year. Because I earned it. If you've ever been pushed aside in a place you built with love, if you've ever been told to make space when all you wanted was respect, I want you to know this. Your silence is not the same as peace. And your kindness should never cost you your dignity. Would you have shown up the way I did? Or would you have stayed away to keep the peace? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if stories like this speak to your heart, if you believe mothers, families, and quiet strength deserve to be heard, please subscribe to Voice of Mrs. Addison. This channel is for truth, healing, and the courage to reclaim your place at the table. Until next time, take care of yourself.